Hey guys, Justin here, and today we're talking with Harry Besley. He is driving an electric rib all the way around Great Britain. We answer the big questions. If you capsize, will you get electrocuted? And we hear about some of the challenges along the way.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not quite sure I want to plug into that,
but All right, Harry, so welcome and thanks again for being on the channel. So first of all, how old are you? And what made you want to take on this kind of challenge?
I'm currently 18. I turned 18 in June. And I wanted to do this challenge to get people talking about electric boats in England, thinking about whether they could have an electric boat or the way that people could use boating more sustainability focused.
So you're 18, but you actually have quite a bit of boating experience. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in boating?
Yeah, of course. So I've been boating, since I could walk. I've been sailing for years and years at the local sailing school. Then done some teaching. Then we got into powerboating and water skiing, wakeboarding. Summer kind of fun activities. I wanted to do a bit more powerboating. So looking at how I can push myself more, do something a bit more advanced, and that's kind of how we landed on the project, really.
When was the first time? I don't know if you remember hearing about an electric boat, or kind of when did it sort of pop into your mind that this is even possible?
So really, when I was researching, I always wanted to go around Britain, in a rib, and I was looking at a way I could do that. Without burning loads of fuel, a way we could do that with having a bit of a positive impact, something more than just driving a rib around Britain, because that's been done before. So then I was looking into all different types of boats, electric, hydrogen, biofuel, all that kind of stuff, and kind of just landed on electric ribs.
So what can you tell us about the boat that you're driving?
So it's a 6.5 meter rib with an EVOY propulsion system. It's a traditional outboard, but just with an electric motor instead of the kind of petrol engine. It's got over 120 kilowatts of batteries on board, which is quite a lot. It's the double battery configuration. We wanted that for the extra range. And yeah, apart from that, it is just a traditional rib, it still drives the same, it still handles the same. It's quite heavy because of the batteries, so it punches through waves quite nicely. But it's the same to operate, and I found it very easy to drive. We're starting, we started, I haven't got used to saying that yet, at Lyme Regis on the south coast. We then went down to Cornwall, and then up north to Wales. We had a good few stops in Wales before we went across to the Isle of Man. From then we went across to Ireland and then Northern Ireland, and then up through the Scottish Islands to the Caledonian Canal, which we have just crossed a couple of days ago. We're now just come outside a couple of harbours on from Inverness, and we'll be turning the corner and heading south this afternoon, all the way down the east coast, across Grimsby, across the Thames Estuary, and then back round to Lyme Regis.
Do you know how many miles in total you've covered, and how many the whole round trip is?
The total is about 16 to 1,700 miles.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah, quite a long way. But obviously split up into lots of different shorter legs.
What was the scariest part? Would have been that run to Isle of Man where you're really in open sea for a while, or?
There have been a few, hairy moments. We had an issue with the router on board, which meant that we could not see the battery information. Yeah, so we were out of Milford Haven, which is in Wales, in the dark, in probably force 4, so decently rough. Waves starting to break, and then the screen data failed, And so yeah, it was a bit hairy because we didn't know, what battery we were on, how much range we had left. We had to get ourselves to a safe port, the shortest, well, basically the soonest one we could find, which ended up being back into Milford Haven.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it was in the dark, so that makes everything more interesting. But there have been a few moments like that, but nothing out of our control, luckily.
Yeah, I think people maybe don't realize how frightening that can be when you're out in the middle of big, deep water and it's dark and you lose oversight on how much power you have. I think you probably made the right decision turning around, heading straight back.
Yeah, it was the right decision. We managed to look at the issue the next day in the daylight, and get the tools out, find a workaround, and then we did it in the day that afternoon, which was a lot better.
That's also, it's also kind of boating as usual. I've never really had a boat trip where everything just works perfectly. So, equipment failures is part of it.
Absolutely, yeah. We knew stuff was going to happen like that. So, we're ready for it. We've got spares, we've got tools. We can deal with most things on the way. Yeah, so in boating terms, it's 4 or 5. But it's breaking waves, probably about a metre waves, maybe a metre and a half in the tidal races there, where multiple currents meet around different headlands. You get nasty currents, which cause a bit rougher waves. So there were also a couple of them around the area. So it was a bit lumpy, quite a lot of spray coming over the boat, which makes everything more interesting because you can't see the screens, and the touch screen doesn't work and everything. But yeah, it's I enjoy it when it's rough until something goes wrong.
Yeah. So the next question, of course, is you've driven a bunch of regular ribs. How does the electric rib handle compared to, let's say, a standard one with gas?
So it handles very much the same, really. Mm-hmm. Its acceleration is really good because it's electric, like electric vehicles. So we can really punch through the waves, which is really helpful because it's heavy. It's over 2 ton, the boat. So you really need the acceleration to get yourself out of the bottom of a wave or come over the top to avoid, damaging things or a normal rib. The risk would be flipping, but it's quite heavy, so that's quite unlikely, and it's very unlikely for normal ribs anyway. But it's good to know that you got good acceleration, a solid base, and we've got some brilliant suspension seats by Shark, which are fabulous. So it's a very capable boat.
That can be some of the most fun you can have driving a boat, is in seas like that, if you have a capable, high-performing boat. You're saying basically you actually like the extra weight. That's been somewhat of a criticism. Sometimes you hear electric boats are too heavy, but if you've been in seas like that, it can be a benefit. What kind of speeds have you been doing?
So our speeds vary depending on the length of the leg. We can go up to kind of 30, 35 knots on a nice day with the wind behind you. But our running speeds are either 20 knots or kind of 5 knots. Those are the efficient speeds for us. Now, obviously, depending on the length of the leg, depends on how far you go at each speed. So there's a bit of math to calculate, what speed you're going for how long and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the 5 knots can be quite long sometimes. But the 20 knots is good fun. So we do as much as that as we can.
So you're trying to get up on plane to pull the whole boat hull out of the water, so it's more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. So getting up onto the plane is quite inefficient. That bit kind of 10 to like 17 knots on this boat in particular is quite inefficient. So once we're up, it's all right because it's just got to hold it up onto the plane. Or while we're just chugging along slowly, it's all right. but anywhere in between is quite inefficient.
How do you go about planning from one leg to another? What factors are you taking into consideration?
Yeah, so tides got quite a big impact for us. If the currents are in the wrong direction, you can get up to 5 knots of current. So if you're only going 5 knots, you're not going anywhere. The tides around the British coast are pretty nasty in places. So you have to get them right, because otherwise you'll just be burning power and not going anywhere. And then you'll use up all your battery and you won't be able to get to your destination. So tides are a really important factor. We've had it a few times when we've gone out, we've turned around a headland and we've just been hit by really strong currents, and we've had to come into an earlier port or something like that. The predictions aren't always what they are on the water. You can calculate it and figure out the best time you want to leave and everything, but as soon as you get out there and actually see what it's like, it's sometimes quite hard to tell. Weather also plays an important part. The bigger waves mean you're burning more power to drive through the waves. And also if it's raining, it's just a pain because we've got no cabin, we're in dry suits. But yeah, loads of factors influence, the charging, as well. The logistics is quite complicated, because we have 2 support vehicles. We have a mobile charging unit, which converts AC, which is your normal supply, to DC, which is used to fast charge boats and cars. So we've got to get them to the right place at the right time, and the boat, and line everything up with all everyone involved. So that's quite complicated.
So did you guys plan out all your charging stations ahead of time, or are you kind of winging it, or how is that working?
So they are all planned. They've been in the works for since we started looking at where we were going to stop. We've been in contact with some of these places for good months now, arranging it. But plans change; they always do. So there have been a few last minute switches around. Last night we had to come in a bit earlier. We came into to a port about halfway through the leg, just because we were using more power on the tide again. That wasn't predicted. So we had to come out, and we actually went to a car charger to charge, and then put it back in.
How often have you guys been able to charge at marinas?
So some, especially a good few along the south coast. We're charging now at a fishing dock because they have 3-phase power. Now what we look for in a charging location is if they have the biggest power supply they have, because that basically means how fast we can charge. So if they have a 32 amp supply, we can charge in 3 hours. If they have a 63 amp supply, if we have a 32 amp supply, it is 6 hours. A 63 amp supply, it is 3 hours.
Can you tell me, I guess, the different types of chargers you have used?
There is a company that make fast chargers for boats. So we've used a couple of them in places, and that's really good because it's really easy. You just plug it straight in. Or we convert the power ourselves. So we get some people might recognize them. They're big red plugs, big red 3-phase plugs. We can then take that power, and we have a converter. It's made by a company called ChemPower. And then that then converts it into DC, which is essentially a car charger. It has a car charger plug on the end. And then that we plug straight into the boat, and we can fast charge. That's how we do the fast charges. So this is a supply that so this here, these kind of plugs.
Yeah.
So these are 32 amp supplies, and then here we then plug in this, which is the ChemPower, which you can see on the screen.
Yeah.
We're at 46%, charging at 19 kilowatts. We can change the amps here. to whatever the supply is, if it's 32 or 63. And then it goes down. There's the boat on this cable here and plugs into the boat on a normal car charger plug.
That's an amazing piece of equipment. So, I mean, you can really set up a mobile charging station at any marina with that setup.
Yeah, we can. I mean, look, we've just got it on the side, and it goes in the little trailer here.
Incredible. Tell me about, I guess, any other problems that you've encountered on the trip.
Logistical problems has probably been our main kind of challenge.
Yeah.
Getting the support crew in the right place when we need them to be. Because there are often changes. If we need to divert and come in sooner, the communication needs to be quite good with the support crew. Also, they have been brilliant in making sure we have the right charging kit, but also that we are fed and rested and got snacks on the water and got sandwiches, and everything like that. Which their job is, equally as important as what we're doing, because they've got to keep us going when we come in, and we've been out for a good few hours and we're knackered. They're there to give us a warm drink and a sandwich, which is really important. There have been some challenges there in getting the stuff in the right place. Mostly kind of due to the charging infrastructure. People say they have a certain supply, and then you rock up and it's like, whereabouts is it? And they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Or like we had a few places where it keeps tripping. The supply isn't used to being drawn that so much power, because we draw the whole amount of power that we can from it. So it trips, and then you set it going again, and it trips again and trips again. So someone has to be monitoring it, quite regularly. So the charging's been our main challenges, really.
I'm sure in the northern part of the UK where it's really rugged, I'm sure you show up and the power systems are all rusted, corroded, and crazy looking, and it's supposed to deliver you power.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not quite sure I want to plug into that, but yeah, no, it's all right. The ones in Scotland we've had have been fine, to be fair, because there's quite a lot of commercial fishing ports. With big machinery, cranes, that like big welders, or whatever they do, repair stuff, which need the three-phase power quite regularly. So it is used. So like now we're at a fishing port, commercial fishing port. There's no pleasure boats here, but we're able to charge here because they got the supply.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things people maybe don't realize, is that high voltage AC power has been in use in the marine industry for decades and decades and decades. And any large vessel, fishing vessel, private yacht is going to be plugging into shore power.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just little marina power. Those are 16 amp. We're talking about 32 and 63 amp, big power supplies, which are already there, and we're using it to charge the boat. And all is needed is this converter. Also, you can charge directly from AC on the onboard charger. So there's a charging converter on the boat. Unfortunately, our boat didn't have a big enough onboard charger for us to use AC to fast charge, but it can be done, and that means that the infrastructure no one has to invest in these expensive charging converters when they can charge directly on AC from the boat. So there are loads of different options with charging, and as we found as you go along, we've been able to plug into almost everything. We have been able to plug into everything that we found. You just got to have the right cable. And for us, we carry all the cables because we don't know what we'll need to plug into. But if someone has their electric boat down at marina or port or somewhere, then they'll know they just need this type of cable, and they then can plug in, and it's easy.
Part of what's so cool about what you're doing is that people have all these questions in their mind of they are aware that gas boats can do these long trips, but with electric boats there's all these questions, but you're actually doing it. You're showing people what's actually possible right now today with an electric boat. It's so important what you're doing because you're answering these questions, like how do you get to this marina up north, and are they going to have charging infrastructure, or you're solving these problems along the way. And honestly, it doesn't sound too much different from a regular boat trip, because you're still having to factor in your range, you're having to account for weather, tides, currents, leaving a margin of safety, having to solve problems when you get to marinas. I'm really impressed with what you're doing and kind of leading the charge on showing people what's possible with electric boats.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is. It's any boat trip has logistics. We don't have to account for fuel. We're not refueling. So we just have to account for electric.
What's been the most enjoyable part of the trip? What's been the most fun?
The scenery and the wildlife and the beautiful views that we've been able to see. We've seen some amazing coastlines. Wales. Isle of Man. The Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scottish Islands, and now coming out the other side, the East Coast. England has a beautiful coastline, and some amazing wildlife as well. Loads of dolphins, puffins, seals, all sorts of other birds. I have no idea what they are, but loads of birds. And I think a few days ago we might have spotted a whale. Well, we're not sure, but we think so. Now we got our eyes peeled to see another one, but we've been talking to the locals and they say there are around. So if we look hard enough, we might see one. So I'm really looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll see another.
All right. If you capsize, will you get electrocuted?
No, would be my answer. Because the system is designed so safe, there are redundancies of redundancies. It's designed to be thrown through all conditions, and if there's any issues at all, it will shut down. So yeah, we were out in sea trials, going to Portland, Bill, around a tidal race there, and we wanted to push the battery to till it was pretty much flat. And we did do that, and we ended up having to paddle in, but it's which was good to do. I'm glad it happened.
Yeah.
That was the aim of what we were doing.
How far did you get?
Well, I think it was about 30 miles, but we were doing it really fast to use up all the battery. So we wanted to see what would happen once you get really low on battery. And it basically goes into like recovery mode, and it only lets you go a certain speed, so that you get extra range. I think it was 4 knots or something, to encourage you to like puttle into a harbour or whatever. But yeah, no, and what we've been doing really has been pushing the boat quite a lot. It's been pushing the electric system a lot. Lots of charge cycles in quite quick succession. So yeah, we're definitely pushing the boat. But in regards to capsizing, I'm sure it will be safe. But even so, I have no worries that whatever sea that we find ourselves in, this boat's going to capsize, because it is solid. I've grown up on little light ribs, which you sometimes think, oh, we're a bit wobbly here. But this one, absolutely not. It's dead in the water.
So I see you guys are wearing these big gill dry suits. Have you done any rough water training, survival training, and kind of preparation for the trip?
Yeah, so all our crew have done sea survival training, approved by the MCA and the RYA. That involves life rafts, life jackets, survival techniques, like flares and stuff like that. also we all have, we're either in waterproofs like I am now, like big dungarees and coats, or we're in our dry suits. The dry suits are brilliant from Gill. You know, they keep us so warm, and any amount of spray and rain that comes your way, you know, at least you know you're dry and warm underneath. So yeah, they're brilliant. And then on the top of them, we've got our 117 Newton spin lock life jackets. They're fitted with light for nighttime stuff, and also a PLB, or a personal locator beacon, which works on the satellite emergency frequency. So if you transmit it, basically it sets a beacon off, sends it to the satellite, sends it to the Coast Guard, and they can come and rescue you, and they can find where you are as well. So yeah, lots of kit. That's just on our person as well.
That's that's great. PLBs save lives. I mean, they've been proven to do that, and hopefully, probably nothing will happen. But I mean, it's good to be prepared to the maximum, because you really you never know what the sea's gonna throw at you. So I think we'll wrap it up here, and just wanted to say thanks, Harry, for taking the time out to talk with us, and wish you a smooth sailing and happy journey.
Thank you very much.
Hey guys, if you made it in the video this far, head on over to Harry's channel at Round Britain eRIB. He's got a ton of cool footage of his trip, and you can tag along with him in the journey. Thanks for watching.